What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with the final video to this series as of now. And we are doing the Super Bowl. So you guys may be seeing these teams and be like, what the hell? How did these two teams come to this point? I don't know, honestly. You guys can check out my random predictions video that I did way before I even did game by game. And you can see that it was not Arizona, it was definitely not Indy who was in the Super Bowl. So I mean, there's just this is far from what I expected. But I mean, looking at each game, I took it one game at a time, and on the spot, I didn't predict any of this out. So, just through logical progression, I think that this is this is the game, and like obviously the past this last week was both these games were toss ups. Both of these are going to be amazing games, but um, from my analysis, obviously I'm not going to be your stereotypical copy paste type of person. So I don't think that you guys would come to me for that anyways. So let's look at this game. It is not going to be home advantage for anybody because of the fact that it's at a neutral site, unless it's going to be in Arizona, which I don't believe this Super Bowl is. If I'm not mistaken, might be SoFi Stadium in LA, or it might not be. It might be delayed one more year. But still, I'm pretty sure it's not in Arizona Stadium, and even if it is, it's gonna be a neutral site just because of the fact that both these guys are dome teams. So let's analyze the teams here, and looking at Arizona's offense versus Indy's defense, we have I think a clear advantage, like secondary versus wide receiver slash skill position group of like Arizona versus Indy, because Indy, the corners aren't the greatest. With Kenny Moore and Marvell Tell and Rock Ya-Sin there, I don't really think that is the most elite corner crew. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Marvell Tell definitely showed that he could be a starting caliber corner. Same thing with Rock Ya-Sin, but again, not marquee players, especially in comparison to the wide receivers they're going up against. With DeAndre Hopkins, I'm going to actually start out with him this time. Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk, Andy Isabella, and Hakeem Butler, 6'5", extremely fast target. I forgot. Wait, where was he out of? I don't even remember. It wasn't South Carolina. Who cares? But yeah, secondary. I mean, yes, you have Malik Hooker back there, and that's a huge step in being able to minimize the amount of deep passes that Kyler Murray can throw. But this offense of Cliff Kingsbury is very much, very much short routes, RPOs, stuff that can catch the defense off guard. So right there, I'm gonna give the tick to Arizona, and then linebackers versus like tight ends, Max Williams versus Darius Leonard. Darius Leonard's better, but in general, like Bobby Okereke as well is a beast. So those guys can take out the short routes, but there is, I think, a little bit too many good route runners on Arizona for just the linebackers to take care of, since the secondary is going to slightly let down the linebackers in this case. Looking at the trenches, though, Arizona, you have DJ Humphries, you have Justin Pugh, J.R. Sweezy, Marcus Gilbert, Josh Jones. That is a really good starting five. And on the defensive side, you have Kamoko Toure, Ben Banogu, Justin Houston, and you have DeForest Buckner. So both of these lines are actually going up against it's pretty equal, in my opinion, just because I have a very high opinion on Josh Jones. DJ Humphries is definitely solid, and Marcus Gilbert is a starting tackle, definitely. So, and then the other guys are just getting older, so it's not like they're going to be super high impact players, but I kind of give the advantage slightly to Indianapolis. But here's the key. Arizona runs very much more of like a spread zone scheme, and I think that's going to be key in this game because that forces the D line to have less of an effect on the run game than what we would normally find, and that leaves it up to the linebackers. But the linebackers on Indy are not bad. The problem is there's only two of them. So if, let's just say, the line is able to deal with the defensive line, maybe a tight end or somebody can go up and block or chip Bobby Okereke and Darius Leonard. which might open up some lanes. But I'm going to give advantage to Indianapolis in this case. So the passing game is for Arizona's advantage, but the run game is in Indianapolis's favor, big time. So looking at the other side, we have Phillip Rivers leading, I suspect, heavy run offense based on the fact that this team is so damn good at blocking. And so obviously I'm going to give the battle in the trenches to Indianapolis. Like, I know Chandler Jones is there. You have Devon Kennard who can rush in. Isaiah Simmons who can rush in. You have a lot of guys. But in the middle of that defensive line, you have two rookies and Leki Fotu and then Rashard Lawrence. And that is not going to be the best. I know you have Jordan Hicks as well. So I think the run game advantage goes to Indianapolis. But, I mean, just like the battle in trenches goes to Indianapolis' way. Even though I think there will be some pressure because of the fact that Chandler Jones is just a beast. He's an absolute monster. And Isaiah Simmons is somebody who can look like he's going into coverage and then blitz. So I think that's going to be a slight key for Arizona being able to get some pressure in on Phillip Rivers. But Phillip's kind of used to that type of stuff. But looking wide receivers versus secondary / linebackers and then tight ends, you have guys like, I'm pretty sure Zach Pascal's still there. Obviously T.Y. Hilton. And then you have Michael Pittman Jr. And then you have Jack Doyle. So those are kind of like the big three. And they're going against Arizona's secondary, which consists of, let's just say, you have Patrick Peterson, who's going to be most likely lining up on T.Y. Hilton. And then you have Byron Murphy, who's most likely going to be lining up on Michael Pittman. Or it might be flipped, guys, because of the height difference. Because I'm pretty sure Byron Murphy is sub 6 foot. I think he might be 5'10". And then Pat Pete's about 6'1". So just to like minimize the height differences, they could be switching those two. Because Byron Murphy's damn good. It's not like he's a liability in coverage. And then you have, I'm pretty sure there was a guy that they just signed, a corner they just signed from San Francisco in the offseason. They have some nickel corner that I can't remember. It's off the top of my head. And I think that he's going to be good enough to be on Zach Pascal, even though Zach Pascal is probably better talent-wise. I like Zach Pascal a lot. I think he's pretty damn good. I don't think the Colts did a good job in getting rid of Deon Cain. He's one of my favorite sleeper players in the NFL, and he's on the Steelers right now. Deon Cain's an absolute beast. I don't think that Indy should have gotten rid of him. But kind of like it's step for step with Arizona versus Indianapolis in terms of Indy's wide receiver core versus the secondary. Because you have Budda Baker back there as well. So like taking those stretch plays, like those long bombs, it's not going to be that easy. Deontay Thompson could be the big weakness. But I think Budda Baker can deal with over the top a lot better. And that will limit the amount of exposure. So similar to Indianapolis having only one very solid safety, Arizona has to deal with that as well. So both teams have that ability. And looking at running backs, you have Nyheim Hines there, who's a good scat back. You have Marlon Mack, who's a great runner. And then you also have Jonathan Taylor, who's going to run up the middle. So it's a really balanced game here. And I think Indy's going to need to just pound that rock up the middle. And that's going to be very successful for them. Except the fact that if they want to run the ball to the outside, it's going to be a no-go because the linebackers for Arizona are way too good. Way too good for that. They're going to stuff that up immediately. So, like, Indy's going to have to just run up the gut consistently, which will lead to a heavier stacked box. What that means is that Indy could then pass the ball, but Arizona's secondary is pretty solid as well, and the linebackers are good at coverage. So, I mean, it's a catch-22 because Indianapolis can run, but Arizona will obviously adjust. And can Indianapolis deal with the secondary of Arizona? I'm not 100% sure. Now, on the other side, Arizona can't run the ball. But can they pass the ball? Absolutely they can. So, I think Arizona has that ability to pass, but they don't really have a good short game. It has to be developing over time. And Indy has a slight advantage on the pass rush. But Kyler Murray's ability to run mitigates that. So the question is, because this is a very balanced game, the question is Arizona going to have enough time? Is Kyler Murray going to have enough time to watch these routes develop and then be able to hit his open targets down the field? And I think that might be a yes. And then if Phillip Rivers, because I don't think that the pass rush is going to get there too often, is he going to be able to deal with finding the tightest windows? And I don't know if Phillip Rivers has the tightest window throws anymore. I think he's having a resurgent year, but I don't think he's going to be a top 3, top 4 quarterback, because that might be what you need to get these open holes on guys like Byron Murphy and Patrick Peterson. So it's a little bit worrisome for me because of the fact that once you eliminate the run game, Indianapolis is a little bit dead in the water, because it's a lot easier to eliminate a run game, i.e. you just stack the box, versus eliminating the pass game. Because when you eliminate the pass game, then you can start running the ball. Like, usually go into like quarters or dime, and then that leaves the running game open. When you stack the box, it leaves the passing game open unless your linebackers are amazing at coverage. And that's what Arizona has. They have guys like Jordan Hicks, and they have guys like Isaiah Simmons, and those guys are great at coverage. And yes, Indianapolis has that too, but Indianapolis is already stuffing the run. They don't need to stack the box. And the corners are the liability for Indy. Right now, the defensive line, like the defensive interior, is the Achilles heel of Arizona. So linebackers can deal with that a lot easier than linebackers can deal with having to deal with top-end wide receivers. So, guys, I'm giving this one to Arizona. Arizona wins the Super Bowl over Indianapolis simply because of the fact that Indy can be game planned against, and Arizona, they will be able to, maybe you can add an extra blocker at tight end and be able to give enough time for Kyler to be able to maybe scramble a little bit and then find D-Hop open, because I love Marvell Tell, I like Rock Ya-Sin, I like Kenny Moore, but they are not Patrick Peterson and Byron Murphy. So I don't think, and they're not definitely as talented as DeAndre Hopkins and Christian Kirk and Andy Isabella. So that's the game, guys. I mean, I think this game will come down to the wire, but I think that Arizona has enough talent at the wide receiver core to have enough opening spots for Kyler to throw if he gets pressured. So it's going to be a huge, huge deal here, because I'm basically saying that the bottom of the NFC West is becoming the Super Bowl champions. And obviously this is not a game that is super blockbuster to people. It's not a Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson type of conference championship game. But I think this might be the way it turns out. And call me crazy, I wouldn't blame you. But it is what I believe. I took it game by game. So let me know what you guys think. I know, crazy ending. I'm guessing that might be three bears for me from Cardinal Sin. So hats off to that. I think that Arizona has a big chance this year. I'm a huge Kyler Murray fan. Cliff Kingsbury is going to be very similar to like Doug Peterson and Sean McVay with a great scheme. And I think that they're doing the right things, unlike the other two teams that are not being able to compete anymore. I think they're building up their offensive line. They're keeping true to who they are, and they're just continuing to strengthen that offense both on the ground and in the air. And that is exactly what you need to stay relevant in the NFL. And Arizona's doing that, and they have the perfect quarterback to do that with. And they have a very sneaky, very solid defense that no one gives them enough credit for. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the far side. Peace.